Oh, well, ahoy, everyone. And I say everyone, it's just me at the moment. This is a little impromptu. I say it's just me, but we have a dog that's just shown up. How are you, my friend? Oh, just sorting yourself out. You okay there, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate.
All
You?
right, cool. Yeah. So just doing this little after show on the spur of the moment. I think there's nobody watching at the moment. But there'll probably be some people when they realise them live. That happens, and I put the link out in a couple of the groups. So
It was a
yeah,
brilliant interview, mate. Brilliant.
I enjoyed that conversation. Hey, Mark. Good to see you, mate, in chat. Yeah, this is pretty much open. So, but yeah, that was an awesome chat, and what a great guy to talk to. What a great guy to talk to.
I thought the word I was looking for as well when I said extremist to the
Yeah,
opposite extreme.
yeah.
Extremist to activist. That's what I
Mm.
meant to say. I couldn't think of the word to save my life.
I knew what you were getting at, but it was yeah, it's that was
He's a half decent bloke, that Jeff. I have to admit.
yeah. I mean, and considering that, like, where he was and what he was involved in for like 27 years, one of the biggest, the biggest neo-Nazi group in America, and to see where he's and he wasn't just like a rank and file; he was a leading leader of that group, and to see him come away from that and do what he's doing now is pretty, yeah. You can see why I wanted to talk to this guy.
Oh, you can do 10 interviews with that guy, I reckon.
Yeah,
He's got a lot to. He's got a lot
yeah,
to say. He's had a very active life.
yeah. I was very
But yeah,
glad
that was
to.
a
Go on,
really
Dog.
good interview, mate. Really
Oh,
good interview.
that's one of the ones I've enjoyed that one more than I've enjoyed a lot of. I've enjoyed most of the interviews I've done. But that's one of my favourites for by far. Without a doubt, that is one of my favourites. Just enjoyed having that conversation.
Yeah, I'm going to check out his website as well. I think that's definitely a must.
Yeah. Let me put the link to. I've got it up in a tab somewhere. I'll post it in the public chat and in the oh shit, wrong one. Hold on. Shit, I need to delete that. I put wrong thing up there. Oh dear.
But it's in the description of the interview video, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I accidentally put the link to the stream in the chat, and I don't like doing that because I got fucking porn bombed by someone doing that before. So there we go. JeffScoop.com. That's his website. That was a really I think it's also a bit of an eye opener about. I got into obviously some conversations about anti-fascist activism, which I thought was an interesting one to have.
Were you an anti-fascist activist, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I wasn't part of I wasn't. Let's put it this way: I'd have defended myself if needs be, but I wasn't going to. I certainly wasn't going out looking for fights with them. Let's put it that way. I got my picture ended up on a website called Red Watch, which is a site where they tried to like dox and threaten anti-fascist activists. And the reason I was caught up there is I was out doing leaflets, or I can't remember if it was Unite Against Fashion or Hope Not Hate. I can't remember who I was actually leafleting for, but the BNP had put a candidate up in our area, and I went out basically just delivering leaflets, which was more along the lines of, hey, look, these are who these people actually are. Despite what they claim, this is what these people really are. It says, by all means, use your vote. Just do not vote for these fucking people. And here's why,
Exactly. It's a racist party.
Yeah.
And then you had UKIP as well, didn't you? They came along.
Yeah, I mean,
I've tried to be a bit more liberal in their.
I never viewed them as like an out-and-out fascist party, but I think there was definitely a point, especially around the time that Farage left, that there seemed to be a lot more far-right people coming into UKIP, but they were sort of more somewhere between sort of Tories and right-wing populists for the most part. But there was definitely a period when you had some real like racists come in to UKIP, and strangely it was sort of around the time Farage left, actually.
Well, you don't forget Nigel Farage is far right himself. I mean, look at his love for Trump.
Yeah, I certainly couldn't compare Farage to what Jeff used to be involved with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. I'm very careful about throwing labels like fascist or Nazi about, because I feel there's always been a bit of a tendency on the left that we've thrown those words about sometimes to the point where they become meaningless. So,
Well, I think you handled that interview very well, mate.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Well, I was a little.
If it was me, I'd be saying, have you got any Nazi tattoos and things like that? I'd be trying to ask all of that.
Yeah.
To see how far he did go, obviously. But obviously, a lot of them, they get them tattooed on their forehead and things like that, don't they? And where they're visible. And fortunately for him, well, I don't know whether he's got tattoos or not. We didn't ask him that.
Nah.
But yeah, I thought, you were not light-footed with him. You were just. I thought it was a good, clever interview, mate. I thought it was good technique, and you deserved
Well, I must admit,
an applause there.
I must admit, I spent quite a bit of time listening to other interviews people had done with him as well, and although I covered some of the sort of things he's been asked before, I think a lot about like anti-fascist tactics. I'd never really gotten his take on that before, so if he has talked about it, that's the first I've heard. So and I thought that, but I thought that was a very useful conversation to have. Hey, Exploratory Minds, good to see you, my man. In a while. This is an open one, mate, if you do want to join, but that was I'm very proud of that interview, actually. I thought that went very well.
Yeah, that's off to you. Surely though, white supremacy is a fascist group, by default, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's arguments around that. I mean, it's always a little complicated to get into, really, on a first, when I'm trying to unwind a bit now, but it's not necessarily that. If you look at a lot of, so we say some fascist parties, like Mussolini's one, the original one by Mussolini, it wasn't they didn't adopt a lot of the, shall we say, racial stuff until they got into bed really with Hitler, I suppose. But
Well,
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get nuked on this stream just for saying all these like Nazi and Hitler and that, because
no,
YouTube hates those words. But
the only reason Mussolini got involved with Hitler is because he was taking advice from the Vatican.
yeah, I'm not quite I'm not quite sure on a lot of that, because I mean, when I actually interviewed Tim O'Neill, just that site History for Atheists, one of the things I actually asked him about was the sort of Vatican's links with like the Nazi Party, and he said there's actually a lot of myths about just how in bed that they actually were, the church actually was. So it's quite interesting. And I think I think a lot in our community, because let's be honest, we do not, generally a lot of us in our community do not have a very high opinion of the Catholic Church, and we tend to believe the worst. But I think there's been a lot of myths, I think, put out there about that as well, which is in, so.
I studied this
Yeah.
because of my hatred of what the Catholic Church did to me.
Yeah.
Have you ever read a thing called the Bigelow Report?
Don't think I've actually read that.
You should read it. It's all in there. The Nazi gold and the millions of Swiss francs that were seized during the war, that all ended up in the Vatican as Hitler's little stash, let's say. That's why the Vatican advised Mussolini to protect them and protect it and get Italy on Hitler's side. Obviously, that was a big. They invaded Spain, which was a
it's
big
quite
mistake.
ironic at one time that that during the 30s, when Mussolini went on his little adventure in Abyssinia, in modern day Ethiopia, that some of the weapons that were sold to the Abyssinian Emperor Haile Selassie came from Germany. So it was quite weird. You realise that actually you had the Germans were just a couple of years before World War II, really arming the Abyssinians against the Italians. There's a lot of weird politics that went on there, and I mean, Mussolini was always right to the last minute wondering what side he was going to pick if war broke out. And I think he almost kind of jumped in when it looked like Germany was the one who was going to win the war. And it's like, oh, I better jump in now, or I'm not going to get my slice of the cake here, kind of thing. So.
And where was Great Britain at the Normandy landings? Nowhere to be seen. This is a guy I had a row with on Twitter, and I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, the Americans come and bailed you out." I said, "Well, you didn't, the Battle of Britain." I said, "You didn't join the war till after the Battle of Britain."
No. I hate
said,
those kind of arguments, to be honest.
Yeah, he said, "You weren't at the Normandy land." I said, "Of course you was. You've been watching Austin Powers. You remember that line where that America says, you don't want us to bail you out like we did in WW2.
Golden Sword Beach were British, and I think was Juneau's a Canadian beach, and Utah and Omaha were the two American beaches. I mean, I will say this. Well. Yeah, they would have been. Oh, yeah, they would have been. But I will say, the Americans probably had it the roughest on D-Day, Omaha in particular. But I hate those sort of arguments, though, of we bailed you out here and all that. And I just think it's almost it becomes almost sort of posturing. I mean, it's like it's almost like that Al Murray routine, isn't it? You name a country, we have beaten them at war. That you've seen that routine that he does, but
probably. Saw him live in the O2
Yeah.
Centre a couple of years ago. Very good.
He's
Fortunately,
clever.
sat at the back because he seems to pick on the people at the front.
He's
I like the way he remembers all their names, though.
he's a clever guy. I mean, the guy, was an Oxford graduate and he studied history. But his whole pub landlord thing is just a persona he puts on. That's not who he is.
Of course.
That's a character, and it's sort of mocking shall we say, certain type of British patriot. Shall we say, would be the best way to describe that. But
yeah, wine for the ladies.
Yeah, that's it. Point for gentlemen, a glass of white wine or a fruit-based drink for the ladies. I think that's what
ladies, they're either nurses or secretaries. That's what he says.
Yeah.
And he takes any job they say and turns it into nurse or secretary.
Yeah.
Which I find amusing. I mean, it's obviously a little misogynistic, but it's amusing. They know people know what they're in for.
Yeah.
He's a comedian. I don't think he means it by art, does he?
No, he doesn't at all.
So, Jeff, tell us more about your activism days then. Apart from
not much to tell really, but in all honesty, but yeah, I mean, I got a bit politicized around the Iraq war, like a lot of people did, because to be honest, we fucking hated Tony Blair for that. So
so the second one then.
Yeah, the one where the one where Blair basically lied to us about all these fucking weapons that that Iraq was supposed to have and that they didn't have. So
I think we were all a bit annoyed about that. The first one, I don't know, was that even justified?
it's been too long since I've really looked at it. Hey, Sam.
Well, that was 91.
Hey-o.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Sam.
How's
How are
you
you,
then,
Sam?
Sam?
I am not doing too bad. Today has been a bit of a... Oh, I didn't wake up till 3 in the afternoon.
Okay. One of them days.
Yeah. Which is, part of what I get for dating Americans.
Yeah.
Because you're on everyone's stream. I mean, literally everyone's stream. You're there 24/7. You need some rest, boy.
Maybe fine.
So
I've also spent a decent chunk of today since I've woken up debating the merits of, if I email Sean McDowell, am I going to get a response?
No.
I concluded probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, I just sort of thought I'd have a little chill out stream for a little while after that interview I did earlier. So
Fair.
Did you happen to see it, Sam?
No, I have a tab open on YouTube to watch it later.
Yeah, I didn't see you in the chat, so I just assumed you hadn't got around to it yet. But so
worth a watch. Worth a watch.
Very interesting conversation. As I said, you said to me like 5 years ago that I'd be having a conversation with that guy, and having a really enjoyable conversation with that guy. I'd have said you're fucking mad. But I think that's quite an amazing story to how he's come out of the real extreme right wing politics to what he's doing now. It's
yeah, bit of a jump there.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, when you get around to see it, I mean, he was he wasn't just sort of in this. I mean, he was the leader of the biggest Nazi group in America for over 20, for nearly 25 years. He was hardcore, and see how he's been de-radicalized and come out and is trying to help other people get out of that is pretty it did remind me a lot of a lot of these stories like you've watched enough of Neil's streams and the like deconversion stories to to probably know what this is like. Sam, you see people in a way kind of want to get out of where they're at, but their entire support network is tied up in this thing that they're in. Like a lot of people who like get out of cults or even sometimes just leaving religion.
It's why you get people who are physically and mentally out in terms of religion or whatever.
Which is what I've got the feeling that with Jeff, that I don't quite nail this down, but I got the feeling that he was wanted to be out way before he actually did get out, because his whole life was tied up to this thing, and he obviously as he said in this thing that he got to that point where he, as he took it, retired from the organization, which kind of meant he left in good standing, but he knew the second he actually spoke out, there's no going back then, and spoke out and denounced them. That's it. That's no going back to it then after that.
Is that group still active? And I have to say,
Sam,
I'm sorry, I called you boy there without thinking. I do apologise, my friend.
Oh, that's all right.
It was just slip of the tongue, mate.
It happens.
But is that group still going?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, they're massive. They've been established since the 90s. He didn't start that group, just to be clear. They started in the 1970s, I think. So they were like well established. By the time Jeff joined them, and there's still like a massive
a sort of alternative to the clan, these
were they weren't even an alternative to the clan. This was if they were predecessor was the American National Socialist Party.
So neo-Nazis, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what this actually was.
The clan think they're doing God's work, don't they? They think that's why they dress in robes and burn the crosses and that. They think it's all about God.
Yeah.
I think the clan's dying out now. Anyway.
The thing with these. There's probably less of a religious element to what he was involved. I mean, in terms of like the clan has always been sort of had that in sort of white Anglo-Saxon Protestantism sort of thing, isn't it? So hey Amanda, just see Amanda's in the chat.
Hi Amanda.
Hey Amanda. It's I think the thing with the clan is that they are very much they're not just tied to religion, but they want to think they're organized. If that makes sense, is the general impression I get of them.
They're a bit weird. They're a weird organization to put down because they're like lots of little organizations in a way. There's no one big central organization with them. And it's been the sort of case with them since the 60s at least.
They are very spread out groups.
Yeah. They're sort of very loosely affiliated, but separate groups, essentially. That's been the way they've been set up for a long time. But it started off as a bit of a. I mean, the weird thing is, it started off as a bit of a bloody boys' frat club kind of thing initially. Then it got into the, you know, and you had then you started having all those ex-Confederates type of joining it, you know. Fucking one of America one of the biggest scumbags in American history, Nathan Bedford Forrest, getting, you know, coming the first leader.
Yeah, I always like that that scene in Django Unchained where they got the holes in the pillowcases.
Yeah.
What's his name? Who plays Don Johnson? He's the landowner.
Yeah.
And there's a big kerfuffle. They've got to wear the hoods, but none of them can see where they're going, of course. That was probably around the start of this group, wasn't it? Around slavery days, I would have thought. This group started, and they were deeply religious.
But the clan very much was formed off the back of the end of the American Civil War. That is very much where they their origin can be very much pinpointed to then.
But this is the ignorance, because blacks fought on both sides in the American Civil War.
That is true. That is true. But I think what my understanding is, I think there was about one black Confederate regiment, and they very much at the end of the war, when the Confederacy got really desperate, and Robert E. Lee was begging Jefferson Davis to let them have black soldiers if you want to keep fighting. There was a sort of thing saying, like, there was a sort of proclamation that, hey, you come and fight in this regiment, you'll get your freedom. There were very few takers, because I think most black people could see which way the wind was blowing anyway, and just be like, no, fuck you, we're going to be free in a few months anyway, because you're losing. But they did actually, yes, man, because somebody has to educate you Americans about it.
Fun fact, I share a birthday with
joke,
General Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I share a birthday with General Lee. January the 19th. But yeah, it was a bitter war, a pointless war, and you know, and Trump has divided America again, hasn't he? Really.
To be honest, if it would have been a point, if slavery had not ended as a result of that, it would have been a pointless war with nothing redeeming coming out at the end of it. And that's about the only positive thing you can really say about the American Civil War is
it wasn't completely pointless.
Yeah, if it would had slavery not ended as a result of it, which let's be clear, at the start of that war, it could have very well remained in place. You had kind of moderates really on the Lincoln was a bit of a moderate on slavery for a long time. He might have been an abolitionist, but he was more about stopping the spread of slavery as America expanded. That he didn't want it spreading, but he wasn't necessarily he didn't set out to abolish slavery outright. And really, it's one of those things that events get ahead of people sometimes, and they're pushed into doing things. Just kind of what happened there.
Well, I know.
See,
After it was declared, no more slavery, Texas were a couple of years behind, where the point where officials had to go on these plantations and tell the slaves, "Leave, you're free to go." And then there was the Oklahoma rush, wasn't it? After that, where people would get 5 acres of land, wasn't it? And obviously,
yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
no,
I'm not from. Well, it's been a while since I've studied Oklahoma. It's it's a bit crazy. I'm trying to think of the timelines here, but
yeah, of course, it was not long after slavery, and obviously, no blacks got any land. But
I find it really bizarre that like my entire knowledge of like the US Civil War and shit comes from looking stuff up to fact check random claims I hear people making and like checking through shit. But I never actually like studied it or learned about it. So sometimes people will mention something about it and I'll be like, I have no fucking clue. Yeah. But I don't. The only reason it seems to ever come up is because someone starts an argument about it. Like, it doesn't feel any more important than bringing up the War of the Roses.
yeah,
And, like, the only real thing of consequence left there today is that I'm going to take the piss out of Noodle for being from Yorkshire.
yeah,
bloody Red Rose Lancastrians here. I know. Yeah.
see, Ox makes a good point in the chat about the clan.
Yeah.
I said it's a dying organisation, and Ox says today it's nothing more than a bunch of racist dumbasses using the name as a weapon. And the clan started in 1860, was demolished in the early 80s.
Well, it's
Which is about true, isn't it?
1865. I think it was actually. I know it was started at the end of the Civil War, but yeah, I see. I actually did. One thing that I would always say though is a caution. You look at the history of the clan, is they've had this thing before where they've gone away and been dormant for 20 years and then have re-emerged several times in their history, so you can never totally write them off. It's says, oh my word, your father was a grand dragon. Wow. Yeah.
Wasn't it Jerry Reed who sung a song about the Ku Klux Klan?
I
The
have
Ku Klux Klan or
I
KKK?
don't know. Yeah, I'm going to step out. I'm going to step out for 2 minutes because I want to smoke a cigarette, guys. So you two want to keep chatting amongst yourselves. So,
All right, mate.
No,
yeah, I don't know if it was a skit or it was I can't remember the song itself. I think it was Jerry Reed. Do you know who Jerry Reed is, Sam?
I don't actually. I'm currently Googling it.
Well, he was the snowman in Smokey and the Bandit. He was a lorry driver.
Okay.
You must have seen Smokey and the Bandit. Burt
No,
Reynolds,
actually.
Sally Field. Have you seen The Water Boy?
Also no.
But he was a country and west. I think he wrote Guitar Man, which was a massive hit for Elvis. In fact, I think he played with in Elvis's band before Chet Atkins. I'm sure in America.
I'm looking through the list of films that he's been in. And
He's been in a few.
I recognize a lot of the names of the films purely and simply because I have an uncle who's really into westerns.
Yeah, but he was actually a musician. I'm sure. I'm sure. The Hawks. He was a country singer. Well, no, that and a comedian. But yeah, I think he wrote a skit about the Ku Klux Klan. And actually, some of his music's pretty good. Guitar Man was a hit for Elvis, but it was Jerry Reed's song, and I think Jerry Reed does it a lot better. But yeah, he was in. What's the list? There was Smokey and the Bandit, Smokey and the Bandit 2, Smokey and the Bandit 3, where he actually played the bandit. I don't know. I don't know if there's any more Smokey and the Bandits. I think after 3, they wouldn't have made another one. Rubbish. The
When you
Water
get
Boy,
to
I know
3
he was
films
in.
of something, there's very rarely a good like third film of something.
Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit 3 wasn't all that. I don't know why I think Burt Reynolds, he didn't do it because he knew it would be rubbish. But, you know, a job's a job, isn't it? Because you got Kevin Sorbo begging on the internet for money at the moment.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he says if you want to chat with him face to face on a link, sign up for this Huge Me Flip. I looked into it, and it's $40 for 3 minutes to chat with him. So it's just basic begging, really. I mean, at the end of the day, for what he's done, for what he's been doing and saying, and everyone stopped playing his shit, haven't they, on their channel? So he's got no royalties coming in anymore. His book could have flopped, or he's just looking for a mate to vent on. So it could be any of them things. Either or, as far as I was saying, begging. Because a few of the celebrities did that, and they were charging like $200-300 for like a greeting, just a greeting, and $40. It sounds a bit desperate.
See, it baffles me because, like, I understand people look at it and go, "My time is valued at this much, therefore that's how much I will charge." It just feels like really bad PR.
Yeah, I think he just wrote a book. But don't get me wrong, I think he's an abysmal person. I mean, he still supports Trump and conspiracy theories and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But
Didn't we do a crazy world of Twitter thing on him at one point?
Jeff did a what's the name? Yeah. You can do one every week about him because he tweets a few times every day, and it's all nonsense. But
easily enough.
Yeah, it's like James Woods. He was another one. There was a few of them actually. I mean, used to be Clint Eastwood, but he sort of went against Trump in the end, which was weird, but justified.
Is Greg Locke still screaming about Trump?
Oh, he's screaming. I think the last one I responded to was Jesus is alive. And I just put, yeah, but he's playing the world's greatest hide and seek competition. But there's a lot of weirdos in this world, mate, and you know it. We see it every day on all sorts of YouTube channels. We watch all these debates. One's always correct, and the other one's always a nut job.
Yeah, that's. See, I think the problem is that sometimes I'm not sure which is which.
Well, Grumpy had Conspiracy Cats on his channel yesterday evening, and it was really good actually. He was doing, I can't remember the guy's name, but he goes on. He's every single conspiracy, lizard people, aliens, the whole lot. The lizard people are aliens, and everyone who's in the Illuminati are all aliens who've been turned into lizard people who are wearing human skin. It's just the craziest sort of nonsense. And you need to, you You need to see that. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw something about it. I kind of just there's a lot of stuff kind of in the community because there's so much bullshit dealt with. I'm like, I need
Back
to be
guys.
careful how much I watch. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah. You're saying about Grumpy, weren't you? Hey, GSM. Just see GSM turn up in chat. Yeah. That was Professor Truth they were watching, wasn't it? That guy's
That was it, Professor Truth. Yeah.
Oh, that guy's a maniac. I watched a bit. I watched a bit of that. I mean, watched it mainly because it's Grumpy and he's got conspiracy cats, and Cats is awesome.
Yeah, I like Cats.
He is such a cool guy. But you know, it does seem though that Cats has got a good record for seeming to get people away from flat Earth, because like Seek Truth, Speak Truth said it was a conspiracy cats video that kind of was like, yeah, I can't answer that, and I don't know quite how much he played in Ranty coming out of it or not. But I know Ranty and Cats get along anyway, so Ranty seems like Ranty's always seemed like an okay guy to me. That he's sort of like, okay, he just seems like an okay guy who was in with the wrong crowd, you know.
What, your Nathan Thompson's? What's not Nathan Thompson?
He hung around Oakley for a little while, but
Nathan Oakley, that's it.
He Ranty actually said one of the reasons he started his own thing was because it was supposed to be like the Flat Earth debate show or whatever, and he said it was just Nathan Oakley shouting over people, and he said you got to. So Ranty, to his credit, when he had his sort of shows, that he would give people on the side of the globe their say, whereas Oakley just shouts over people. He's a nasty piece of work, Oakley.
Well, I saw a video of how nasty he is on. I haven't watched any of his shows personally, but I think it's Tau Ceti Alpha, Flat Earthers Full Retard Mode. I think it was on there. It was just Nathan Oakley just shouting at some bloke about an enclosed system. He says, "Well, how he's going on about how can air and vacuum coincide?" And at the end of the day, there's about 100 ton of atmosphere lost to space every day. I know, they don't think about this because of the dome, but it's about 100 ton on average. But obviously, it's made up with photosynthesis. But that's science, which they all deny, obviously. P900, zoom a boat back into view, and I mean, they're all. It's a money spinner, like Mark Sargent and Nathan Thompson.
I am of the
Jeranism. He's in money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I go a little bit back and forth as to if I think some of these people are just dumb as bricks or if they're just grifters.
I think Mark Sargent's a grifter. I don't think, and Oakley. I don't think Oakley believes in flat Earth. That's just my opinion. I think some people, though. I mean, Sleeping Warrior. I think he may have started off as a Poe, but has really convinced himself of his own nonsense. Because I get the feeling now that he's a true believer now. I almost feel like he started off as a Poe and then is just kind of actually convinced himself.
Anthony Riley, that's him, isn't it?
Yeah, Sleeping Warrior. He's a dickhead.
Yeah, I think. Well, a lot of didn't he lose his YouTube channel? And you go on about anti-vaxxers and things like that.
I think he got one of his channels shut down. He's back, but yeah, he kept on with that. That story they jumped on with about that nurse who collapsed not long after getting vaccinated, and And then there was a rumor going out there that she died, which was not the case. But even after it was more and more established that she had not died and she was back at work, and then posted a picture of all the staff and whatever, saying, "Hey, get fucking vaccinated." Riley kept going with it.
Of course, he's got that conspiracy on his mind, doesn't he? So why not?
Well, I mean, see, I was gonna talk about what the anti-vaxxers had done the other day, but I think Hopswatch said it all way better than I could, and I don't feel I could really add to it. I don't know if you've seen Hops' latest video.
Yeah, I was there. I was there.
Hops put it well.
Yeah.
I think he said it way better than I ever could.
Yeah, it was good.
I think there's a couple of points I could be pedantic on, but by and large, I agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you joke about the your 5G chip, Jeff, but I know I know you mean nothing by it. That's just banter. But some of these people still believe this. We're being set up for something.
Yeah.
I mean, with you.
I, at the moment, I'm in the process of trying to help my boyfriend work out how the fuck to persuade his mum to get him the vaccine.
Is she an anti-vaxxer then?
Oh, yeah. Are you familiar with spirit science?
Oh, no.
Yeah, really?
Are you familiar with Teal Swan?
I've heard the name.
Teal Swan, I would probably put on par with spirit science in terms of how bad it is.
Oh my God, that's bad.
She buys into both of those.
Doesn't spirit science include palm reading?
It includes all sorts of nonsense.
Ouija board. And
she's also a flirf and an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. The thing I will say for her is, hey, she's not a Republican.
Well, it's funny. I don't know how old your boyfriend's mum is. I'm guessing about 40, maybe.
Fuck if I know, but that number sounds about right.
Yeah.
How someone that old can be influenced by the nonsense that these people peddle. It's quite sad, really. And it's not even gullible people. It's so convincing that they can convince, non-skeptics. Then they'll convince them that, this is bad. This is what's happening. In your MMR jab, it's full of, there's a bucket of mercury in that one injection. It's been compressed down. There's lead, petrol, and all sorts in it. They'll just give all that crap out, and people buy it because they are that convincing. And it's sad, really, because
like
they've got to be the world's biggest threat to society. But at the end of the day, humanity's due a call, isn't it? We're due a massive call. we've overpopulated this planet beyond belief. I mean, look how much it healed during lockdown. And when everyone was indoors, the planet.
You know what? I was hoping this would be a more light-hearted after party thing, but we just got into like more and more heavy topics, haven't we? Oh,
that's what we're all about, though, Jeff.
Mm.
Talking about the idiots.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you were talking about your anti-fascism.
It was
your journey through that.
Yeah, well,
Tell us
still,
more,
I
mate.
still
Tell us
am.
more.
Well, there isn't much to tell. I mean, I still am, against fascism. No, this is where I thought it was interesting to have that conversation with Jeff earlier about. I suppose it's a little bit about tactics or whatever, but I think this is why I feel like it's very, to me, it's because I'm expecting from some people on the left, I'll get shit for talking to him tonight. I'm sure I will. But I feel really it's like, why wouldn't you want to? You want to. I mean, you want to understand your enemy a bit better. Why would you not take advantage of how they had the opportunity to speak to a guy like Jeff? Why
Well,
would you not?
to be honest, I don't know what he didn't fully explain what sort of. I know he says he's wary, will he be accepted and things like that, but he didn't
Yeah,
go into big details of
I
how he
I
actually
get
is.
that. I get that. I actually understand the skepticism around it though, because I mean, like for example, if Tommy Robinson or Nick Griffin or someone like that suddenly became suddenly said wanted to become an anti-racist, yeah, I think I would treat it with a tiny bit of suspicion. But from really everything I've seen of Jeff's been very, very genuine about this. But I understand why, because I mean, as I said, really, for because I try to use those analogies for like a British audience. That's kind of where Jeff was in the movement. Was on that level of like a Tommy Robinson, Nick Griffin type. That was the sort of same. He had that sort of status in American far right. So I understand why there's going to be a little bit of skepticism to begin with, but to me, it seems to me like, I mean, I can't see any evidence that he's been nothing but genuine.
This is fair. I feel like it's something that you would probably look at and go, it's unusual, but not you'd look at and go, it's unbelievable. The sort of shit that happened there. I mean, like, look at half the people in this community.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't
Tommy
Robinson
shot himself in the foot when he was accused point blank on TV. I think it was Nick, what's his name? The old Radio 1 presenter did that show. Anyway, he said to him, "You're a racist," and he says, "No, I'm not." And that just shot him in the foot. Shot himself in the foot because everyone knows he's a racist. I mean, he's basically anti-Muslim. That's his. That's his MO, really, isn't it? He's anti-Muslim.
I find it really funny the amount of shit I've seen Tommy Robinson get for going to pro-Israel marches.
Yeah. I mean,
on brand.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, have you guys come across Phoebe yet in the community? I don't know if you have. She's been on Ed's channel. She was on Critical Questions actually last week.
I was.
But she's got a similar. She's got a similar story to Jeff in a way that she was an activist for the English Defence League at one time.
Which not to be a shill or anything, but she talked about that a bit on Neil's channel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was kind of part. I know she was on Neil's. Oh, of course. Yeah, you were in the you're in the after show. Yeah, I popped in for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a let's just chill and chat.
Jade wants to join, Jeff.
I know. I'm going to send her the link. Should be joining her 10 minutes or so. Yeah.
But yeah, Phoebe's also turned her life around, hasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But I mean, I'm all for, second chances, bygones be bygones, and that.
Yeah.
If you were a hater at one point, we've all hated things and hated people in our lives. I've hated plenty of people. I still do to an extent from childhood, mainly priests and nuns, but we've all done it. If you turn your life around, then wow, you've done it. You got my attention, and I'll always buy someone like that a pint if they can turn their life around to an extent where they're not. It's not sort of trying to dupe people and trying to get under the skin of people just to get feelers out, and they just actually genuinely turn their life around to be a different person. Then wow, that is a big feat, and you got to be proud of people like that. And people like that, Jeff tonight, I'd buy his booze all night long, mate. If I was in a pub with him, I'd happily buy him drinks all night.
I always find it really funny when people are like, when people think it's inherently a red flag if someone's drastically changed their beliefs. And like, all of the numbers are close together for me purely because of the fact I'm not that old yet. But like, it's not that long ago that I was Pentecostal. And therefore, I said some like transphobic shit. But like, no one I think is particularly going to hold that over my head now as a trans person.
Well, yeah, well, let's say you're 18, aren't you, Sam?
19.
19. You're still a wee bairn, love, at the end of the day. And, and you're not far. I mean, up until you get out there, say after 15, a lot of kids are playing computer games till they're 15 and kicking a ball around with their mates. When you get out there into the world, then you start seeing what's what, and then you realise. Before that, you'll go with the peer pressure, go with the flow, and say wrong things. That's expected from the youngsters and the teens of today. But as I say, I bet once you got out in the world and started meeting likewise people and realising, I'm trans, you probably kept that quiet for a long time. Once you realise there was people out there similar, you came out your shell and you basically, go with a program and started.
I think mate, Ox makes a point there. Someone walks in darkness can see a light and changes growth, but words are cheap, actions are the proof. And yeah, I get that with a guy like, especially a guy like Jeff. I mean, to me, like his actions are definitely seem to be, but at the same time, I like I said to him in that interview, I don't think it's reasonable to expect people to go extremely to the other side, or even if they get out of an extreme ideology or a cult or anything like that, they're not necessarily under any obligation to then have to speak out against it. I mean, great if they do, but I think we should have a little bit of respect sometimes, just for the fact that people are out. of what they were once doing and are not doing it anymore. If they choose to speak out, be an activist against what they once were, that's great. But
oh, mate,
you know,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, who are we
a
to
lot to be
judge
said.
at the end of the day?
There's a lot to be said for activism,
Hmm.
but some people just don't have the energy or the will.
And you've seen from some of the especially with speaking out against extremist groups like this, you're really potentially taking your life in your hands when you do so. I know, and I know Phoebe spoke about this on Ed's channel. That she's really taking a risk speaking out.
I mean,
and not everyone
did actually say.
Yeah.
At one point, she woke up with live ammo just on her doorstep.
Hello, Jade.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, hon.
Hi, Jade.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to be a bit of a chill out, this one, because I had an interview earlier, so just thought, I'll have a little random hangout afterwards.
Nice. I didn't get to watch the interview yet, but I do want to go watch it.
Yeah, no worries. It was really cool. It was a really cool guy to talk to. But if you told me 5 years ago I'd be having a conversation with that guy, I'd have said you're nuts.
Yes, I do understand that. I wouldn't have thought I'd be having this conversation or be an atheist YouTuber.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very good. You need to watch it.
Yes, I was and I thought that I was subscribed to you actually, and I wasn't, and I found that out right now when I went to come watch this video.
That's
so
cool.
I am subscribed to you now.
No worries. You can't. Sometimes you can't be subscribed to everyone. Sometimes because it's just so many.
I thought I have gone to everyone, but but I saw that you were talking about it on Twitter. So
yeah.
But Jeff said the amazing thing that he keeps his past in mind as fuel for his activism and what he does now.
Yeah,
which I think is quite a bold move, to be honest. As he said, it's easy to forget his past. It'd probably be better to forget his past, but it fuels him to do what he does now, which I find amazing and brave.
See, I can sort of relate to that in the reason I got into YouTube was the fact that I nearly became an apologist.
Yeah,
then you saw the light.
Because I basically accidentally reinvented the Kalam when I was trying to study apologetics because I'd not come across it somehow. And it was just like, oh, I can do this. And then it was like, basically, I nearly became an apologist, and then I got yoinked by a Celtic goddess who was just like, nope.
No.
The Kalam is already wrong because it's biased towards the God side, isn't it? So
the Kalam's not wrong. It just doesn't do as much as Christians pretend it does.
Yeah, there's nothing really. It's the three principles just don't work.
Yeah. See,
what was your version? What was your version of it then?
So, when you want to discuss the Kalam, my problem with the way it gets treated is that a lot of people will say that it's an unsound argument. The first premise, which would be in relation to the creation of energy, we have no basis for and therefore cannot make a judgment. The second premise, that would actually be kind of both premises have this issue, but the second premise, the problem with it, isn't that it's wrong that everything that exists began to exist. It's just that we have no way of demonstrating that it's not eternal, and that, for argument's sake, time isn't circular. But if you take the structure of the Kalam, it works structurally, but we can't actually demonstrate either of the premises true or false. And so
we know that
the best it gets you is maybe.
we know that energy can't be created or destroyed.
Given our current framework.
Well, so yeah. Well, I think CERN makes a pretty good point of evidence on energy. The way they throw particles around, they're 5 mile donut.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely like, if you wanted to go one way or the other, CERN is probably the best evidence we've got. But I think that when you're talking about creating energy like that, it gets into really weird territory of, we're discussing a concept of space and time that doesn't exist the same way we understand things to exist now. And that is the big problem with the Kalam, is that it starts to go into speculation of if the rules changed at one point, basically.
See, most theists think, us atheists think, the universe came from nothing. And I don't think any atheist believes that. Anyone with even the slightest scientific mind can't believe that. Maybe a flair can, because they're, well...
Yeah, I know people who believe that, but usually it's fairly easy to explain to them that that's not how that works.
Of course not. I mean, a lot of flat earthers have had to become born again Christians anyway.
Yeah,
especially the dome believers.
What was that, Jade?
I was going to say, only if they're willing to listen, because I wasn't willing to even listen to people. No, I'm right. And like, I was almost taught how to, like, everything that they're saying, even if it makes sense, it makes sense to deceive you. So I would basically just be like, nope, you're trying to lie to me. I don't want to hear it. So there definitely needs to be a willingness to actually listen to the information.
Oh, 100%.
Exactly.
I have found that most of the people who I end up having conversations with this shit about, they're willing to hear but not listen. The trick is persuading them to listen.
Yes.
That's what I said. Like, I mean, you mentioned a lot of those debates on YouTube that you get now. That, I mean, how many of these like atheist versus Christian debates, and a lot of them are just pointless because it's no one's really listening, and it just seems to be done for entertainment purposes now. And I don't. It's very rarely that I watch one that I really feel I got anything out of anymore.
Fair. I will occasionally watch them just to rage.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good I do occasionally enjoy a good dumpster fire with a flat earther. I do enjoy that from time to time, but even now, like the I mean, it's a real sad thing when you have to say that the quality of flat earthers has gone down. That's a real sad thing to have to say.
It is, but also you're not wrong.
I find it helpful for me because I'm still learning how to argue the other side of it. I know how to argue the Christian side, but then to argue the other side is hard. And it also, listening to, conversations like this or listening to debates between people, sometimes things come up that I didn't even think about until that happens. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I did believe that because of the Bible. I probably should look at that again.
I think I was going to ask you, Jade. I think Chris may have asked you this actually when you were on his show the other week, but have you had the pleasure of Darth Dawkins on your live chat yet?
I have not, thank goodness. Or on Antangelo.
It's coming. It's coming. It
I
will
have
happen.
been in a small Discord voice chat with Darth Dawkins the other day, actually.
Oh, whoa, that's twice. Don't say his name 3 times. You'll turn up.
Oh, we said his name 3 times and he showed up in the VC. That's the best bit.
Yeah. From now on, we follow Amanda's advice. We refer to him as asshole 104.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing: is that he showed up. Do you know Oz from the Atheist Roundtable?
Yep.
We assumed it was Oz trying to prank us, and so one of the people who I was in there with asked him what his favorite sex position was. Turns out, no, it was genuinely him.
Oh, I bet he loved that question.
Please tell me that's recorded somewhere.
It's unfortunately not. I wish
That's a pity. That's a pity because you could send that to Chris and Ed for a 6-pack because Ed does his little Darth impression on there.
Yeah.
Because it was just brought up one day, I think, when Ed was talking. He doesn't half sound like Darth Dawkins,
Well, my stand on it all, apologetics they cannot produce evidence. So they bring philosophy into it and just muddy the waters. It's a simple yes or no question. Does God exist? Yes or no? If yes, give us the evidence. Don't try and give us all this philosophy and run rings around us because it doesn't work. That's just my opinion. I don't think philosophy belongs in religion at all. Or the point of where existence is. No, yeah,
I tend to agree. I'm trying to find where that fits in.
Yeah.
Well, where the existence of God comes in, philosophy does not belong. It can belong in the Bible itself or what they say in passages in the Bible. But the question of does God exist, philosophy does not belong. Evidence belongs in that position.
Sam might be better. Sam knows more about philosophy than I'm ever going to. So,
this is one of those awkward things of what philosophy is difficult to pin down, but also I think it's potentially worth clearing up that when people discuss religion and say philosophy doesn't belong in religion, what they're usually saying is philosophy doesn't belong in Christianity.
Well, it doesn't belong in any religion. Well, I'm on about the proof of God existing. You can't have philosophy in that. It's a simple yes or no answer. So why bring philosophy into it? If you can't produce the evidence,
there's a really simple reason for bringing philosophy into it, and that is that at a fundamental level, a lot of things are philosophy people don't realize are philosophy. Now, don't get me wrong. Arguments for the existence of a necessary being are not super helpful. Like the Kalam arguments from fine-tuning, that sort of shit, I ignore that by and large. But I still involve philosophy in my religion. Because
you're a pagan. I'm actually not that sure what pagans believe in. Do they believe in a god or do they worship the stars and what? I've never really looked into it.
Yeah, this is primarily a thing of most people don't know enough to know.
I know they worship the occult and witches and stuff like that.
As someone who is an occultist separately to being pagan, not quite. But
so what do you believe in, Sam?
So paganism is super broad. If you ask 10 pagans to define paganism, you'll get a dozen responses. But generally speaking, it is a group of religions, typically religions that have been reconstructed, but not always. And like, I've heard some natives refer to themselves as pagan, but not enough to say natives are pagan, just enough to say these specific natives who identify as pagan. I'm going to call them pagan. Like Wiccans sometimes refer to themselves as pagan too. It's more of like a general grouping. Most pagans tend to be polytheists, but not all of them.
Right.
A lot of them are very animistic. So seeing things in the natural world as alive or having some sort of essence to them.
No, Sam, what do you believe in as a pagan?
Oh, I know. I just wanted to clarify that I discuss paganism, I want to separate that, as in that's what that generally is, from what I believe.
Right.
Because what I believe is messy.
Yeah, it's obviously a mixture of all the other stuff.
So, for me personally, in terms of God belief, I am kind of relatively agnostic, but lean towards polytheism, though I accept atheism could be a thing. And that's partially through personal experiences and the way I interface with the world effectively, and partially through philosophy. But also, I think that when discussing it, like people often go, which gods do you believe in? Which is a bit of a, I'm willing to kind of go with any god that someone has genuinely had a personal experience with, exists in some capacity, one way or another. And
Right.
I tend to look at things through a fairly, I don't know if animistic lens is the correct term, but everything is definitely interconnected. And things that, like, as much as we discuss consciousness at a human level, the interactions of other things can seem an awful lot like consciousness seems, but most arguments for treating humans as though they're conscious come from the fact that they seem conscious. So that brings up really weird discussions around consciousness. And so there's a lot of, I'm very agnostic on things, but...
What, like brain in the jar solipsism? Do them sort of discussions come up?
Oh, so that when that sort of thing comes up, I simply go, I don't know one way or another, but my senses appear to be mostly consistent. So, granted, so if I grant that the world as I interface with it seems to exist, then where can I go from there? Because if I don't accept that, I'm stuck doing nothing. Which is, the term for that is an argument from seemings, which isn't super strong philosophically, but we have to do quite a lot in order to take axioms, in order to have a starting point to go from.
Is there a pagan Bible, or I think a Bible's probably the wrong word, pagan scriptures of some sort? Or is it just because I can guess there's like many denominations of paganism, like every other religion. There's many. Well, there's Christianity in America. There's over 40,000 different denominations. They all don't agree with each other.
Generally, like if you find a group of pagans who agree with each other on everything, it's probably a cult. But my practices are drawn from different historical traditions, primarily Athenian, but from different places. So there's a little bit of like Anglo-Saxon and Norse in there, as well as a bit of Celtic, and really weirdly bits of Egyptian.
Yeah, that's the area we all came from at the end of the day, didn't we? The cradle of life was Africa.
Yeah.
So they believe.
there is no one book. We have a lot of historical documents and archaeological evidence, which would indicate what a lot of older cultures believed or practiced. And I can take those, try and work out what is this concept getting at and how can it apply to my religious practices. So there's this ancient Greek concept of miasma.
Is Stonehenge is Stonehenge a pagan monument? Is it the Druids?
That is probable. It's probable.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm back here. So I don't know where you're. Yeah, finish your thoughts, Sam. Sorry, I was listening in, but
so Stonehenge is probable that it was used ritualistically within a community or to gather certain communities who are separate in peace. Those are, I would accept either of those as very strong suggestions as to what they were used for, but we don't know for certain. It may also have been an en masse burying ground because of some of the burial sites found in the surrounding area. And I look at it very much from a rebuilding from history. What does this appear to have been? And then I have spiritual experiences that would give me clues about how the gods are interacting with me. How do these line up? Where do they fit? That sort of thing.
Well, to be honest, Stonehenge was a monument to the stars, and even to this day, well, people say it's like just over 5,000 years old, but some people say it may be 10,000 years old. But it's to this day, it still accurately predicts eclipses. I mean, accurately.
Yeah, and while it's true, you've also got to consider that sometimes things like eclipses, and people will discuss it being nature worship, but it was quite often the case that the way they saw nature as a broader concept or the sky or whatever at night was as aspects or physical representations of things, either of spirits or from the gods or various different things dependent on the exact culture, because things varied within Celtic and Anglo-Saxon traditions a lot.
Well, obviously the Romans and the Greeks, they worshipped the stars, didn't they? Their gods were in the heavens, and the heavens were the stars. A lot of the constellations were named after their gods.
They were seen as representations of, as opposed to actually literally the gods.
Well, yeah.
But
yeah. I'm guessing. Just listen to Doc. I'll ask you a question, because I'm guessing you don't seem like you're very familiar with paganism. Because I just see you asking some questions, really.
I know of paganism, but I'm not.
Yeah, but I try and throw a little light on it, because I don't know if I told you my background, but if we go back to about 3 or 4 years ago, I was practicing Norse pagan. I would have identified as. Yeah, I guarantee you that any way I was practicing that would have been probably entirely different to how Sam practices. And as Sam pointed out, it's very it's a lot more individualistic. This paganism's it's by general, it's not. We're not dealing with what we call organized religion by and large here. Is what I think the first thing you kind of need to understand. So it's when you said, like, is there like a pagan Bible? Absolutely not.
The closest we get is like you can take Aristotle or Plato's writings, and some people take them super seriously. That's the closest you've got.
Let's talk about like the Norse gods. Like even the mythologies we have that are written down, and the Eddas and so on are, you got to remember, even they were written way later than the period, in a very much a Christian period. So, we don't sort of, but even then, that's more of a collection of stories rather than an actual any grounding for a theological basis. I mean, they're a collection of stories. But you have to even remember with the Norse myths we've got that there is a slight Christian tinge on some of them because of the period that they were written down in.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff goes back to like oral traditions and so on that they didn't really write their some of the Norse in particular, they didn't write their religion down as scripture or anything.
They just sort of got on with it.
Well, the reason I know it was witchcraft involved, because Sam and I were on a stream a while back, can't remember, and he was saying about witchcraft, and then he told me his idea of his awesome cafe idea, which he hasn't done it yet. I don't know why. He should do it. Now lockdown is over. And that's as far as I know. Obviously, I know it's Norse, but I've focused my life on hating Catholicism and Christianity in itself, and did all my studies on how to bring them down, even though I'm never going to bring them down.
I mean, I'd say, I wouldn't. I'd say it's very difficult for me to say. I couldn't put my hands on and up and say, and openly say, look, like paganism's harmful or anything. Whereas I could say that about the Catholic Church.
Well, don't forget,
and I know you've had first-hand experience with it.
I was religiously hurt. As I said earlier, it happens in the UK, mate. There's especially in I was talking about this the other day. The Magdalene sisters. I know there was a film about it, but they were nuns who took in wayward girls and sometimes boys. Once they closed that laundry down, it was orphans and children that weren't wanted. They checked the land, and it was over 150 odd. I'm not going to say the exact. I know it was over 150. Dead bodies found in shallow graves around the grounds, all physically and sexually abused, or evidence of it. And obviously, through the film, you saw the priests and the nuns were sadistic bastards, and that was the sort of era that I was under. Them people, under the Catholic nuns and priests, and that's what it was with them. It was psychological abuse. So they would sort of mentally torture you. They would humiliate you in front of others, make you look really, really stupid and not worthy of God and things like that. They were terrible people. Fortunately, they didn't make me undress like they did the Magdalene in the Magdalene laundry. But yeah, that was the abuse of to children even back then. Obviously, that's sort of the corporal and the corporal punishment that used to go on. As far as I know, it's stopped in a lot of these schools now. And don't get me wrong, there's a convent not far from me, I see the nuns, and they're lovely people. But I think back in the 70s, they were they weren't very nice. I think they mastered on discipline. But yeah, Sorry, Sam. Go on.
I'm trying to remember exactly what it was now, but I seem to remember something. I think it might have been Hemant Mehta was talking about someone who basically said atheists can't be moral or something, And his response was just, this person that we're talking about, she's Catholic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, Christians think they get their moral code from the Ten Commandments, and they don't. They get it goes back to Adam and Eve, and they ate from the tree of knowledge, the tree of good and evil, and that's the original sin. Goes back to Adam and Eve.
So I'll ask Jay a question. I mean, what sort of background did you come from with Christianity? I know you probably answered this before, but
Oh yeah. I grew up in like fundamental Baptist, and then we went to a non-denominational church when I was pretty young. But I feel like my church was kind of mislabeled. I don't know that they really were non-denominational, because they taught some pretty fundamental beliefs, and like it was a heavy, a doomsday prepper type church, and end of the world, and it was.
I mean, I don't like to brag, but I've actually, I don't know if you know this, I've survived at least 10 raptures so far.
I have at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, you do know if you get to 9, you get the 10th one free.
Oh, I didn't know that. I wasn't informed of that.
Is there a card we're supposed to be counting them on?
Yeah, it's like the old Cafe Nero loyalty card. You get it stamped every time you survive a rapture.
Where do you pick that up?
Yeah, I trying to think. Maybe I don't know if the churches still do them or not, but I've actually seen this. Someone did this, a rapture loyalty card.
That's hilarious.
Hey, survive 9, get the 10th one free.
Well, to be fair, obviously I've been inactive for well over a year now.
Yeah.
I put on a lot of weight. There's no way God's lifted me, mate. I'm just my heart is staying firmly in my little hospital bed here.
And my family wasn't sure if we would still be here after the or during the tribulation or not. So they were kind of like, Jesus could come back before the tribulation starts, or we might actually be here. So then we were preparing in case we had to be here that whole time as well. And so now they actually think that we are in the tribulation, and the battle between Satan and God is coming soon.
Wow.
Well, this is the thing. In the Bible, there's no mention of a rapture. So I don't know where they get this from. I mean, the Bible obviously has been rewritten and manipulated thousands of times. So no one knows what's what anymore. People see it how they do. That's why there's so... look at these mega churches. That's just a business now. They make billions for free just by setting up Billy Smart circus tent in the middle of a field.
Well, the faith healer types as well, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that is showmanship. They've got people that they've got people that come on and they know they're coming on and they heal them.
Yeah.
So and it's sad, and they pass them collection plates around. They make billions a year, and it's sad really that people are being duped like that. Obviously, I'm never going to knock someone if that gets them out of bed in the morning and allows them to live having that belief, then good on you. Because a lot of people do suffer mentally, and if you believe in God.
I've got good little. I'm going to share something here. Let's find it for.
Go on back a little bit. Is there pagan churches? Is there pagan churches?
Yeah, there's little temple type things, I suppose, but not really, not massive, really, as such. It's a long thing to get into. Okay, I'm just going to lighten the tone a little bit here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a bit of fun here. Okay, this is Street Fighter 2 Church Edition.
Yeah.
Round one, fight! Good! Shit! Shoryuken!
Oh, mute.
Tatsumaki Senpuken! Shinku Tatsumaki! Shoryu Reppa! Shinryuken! Hadouken! Shinryuken! Shoryuken! こいつは楽しめそうだ。測ってきな。真空 You win!
I just thought I'd lighten the mood a little bit here.
So some
I
of these creators are so funny. They're so
I love
good
that.
at it.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I like that Robert Tilton one, the Farting Preacher.
Oh, right. Yeah. Was he still about, Robert? Oh, he's still about, isn't he, Robert Tilton?
Yeah, didn't he go to jail?
I'm not sure. I think he did, didn't he? I can't remember. I know he got.
Yeah, I think he went to jail and then he came back and just went straight back into his old habits.
Well, I to be honest, I just I like that little impromptu stream I did the other day just to I honestly, there was a part of me that was just looking for an excuse to play that Kent Hoving song on one of my streams. That's, to be honest.
He was on a big debate or something last night, and
oh god, I can't watch any more Hoving debates. I mean, you listen to one, I mean, there's been the ones where he's. I mean, there's been quite a few where he's gotten spanked now, but the best ones to me were he did a series with King Crocoduck, where King Crocoduck just owns him. This one was, I mean, sadly the guy's no longer with us, but there was a guy called Bill Ludlow who absolutely demolished Kent Hoving's, which was brilliant. And then Aaron Ross owned him completely. Actually, Conspiracy Cats as well. There's a few, but Kent. If you listen to one of Kent Hoving debate, you've listened to them all because he runs the exact same script, almost word for word.
Oh yeah, he's not a stupid person. It's all about the money.
Oh, Kent's a grifter.
He's got a little harem there going on. A little colony.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's sort of like running a personal cult. I think like a lot of Christianity is a cult. I mean, anywhere you go where you go and perform rituals, sing songs and hymns and psalms and kneel down, stand up, say amen and pray to a fucking wooden effigy. As far as I'm concerned, that's a cult.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not as perhaps harsh on religion in general. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but
that's the definition of a cult, man.
Yeah.
Worship.
I think mainstream Christianity, I would agree, but not necessarily all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's fair enough. I mean, even Muslims, a lot of them, they pray in their house. They have their little prayer corners with their mats they face east, and they do their prayers at home. And a lot of them don't need to go to the mosque. But I have to admit, though,
I mean,
when I lived in London, I lived near a mosque, Regent's Park. When I lived in Camden, and used to hear the mosque there in the morning, and the call to prayer. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a lovely way to wake up. It was an absolutely beautiful way to wake up.
I mean, one of the reasons I don't often talk about Islam on my channel is it's a very simple reason. I don't really know a lot about it. Not enough to like. If I'm gonna do a critique, I don't want to do a lazy, ill-informed critique. So that's perhaps one of the reasons I tended to leave Islam alone a bit. It's like I want to, If I learn more about what it is, then maybe I can knock it a bit more. But
well, it's basically old Christianity without the violence. When I say old, I'm going back biblical times where Christians killed Jews. But obviously, Christianity have progressed to just hatred now, rather than these Muslim states are still, beheading gays in public and things like that, and chopping hands off for stealing and things like that. They've kept the old-fashioned type punishments, let's say, where Christians they'd like to do it, but they obviously refrain now.
Yeah,
I
want to lighten the mood again a little bit, because I'm going to probably wrap up in about 10-15 minutes or so. But now, Dog, I know you will have seen this. Sam may have done as well. Jade, do you want to react to some comedy?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh boy.
This is an Irish comic called Dave Allen. So I know Dog. Yeah.
This convent. Long.
It's about religion.
Driveway up to it. One of those Gothic doors. Great studs in it. Rang the bell and opened. There's one of these nuns. Flapping. Terrifying. 3.5, 4 years of age. Terrifying. What do you want, little boy? My mummy and daddy said I'd better come here. Yes? Well, if you come here, you've got to be a good little boy. Will you be a good little boy? And I could see past her. And there's a fellow nailed to a cross. I thought you're bloody right, I'll be a good little boy. First question they ask, what do you know about God? I don't know anything about God. Who? God! Who's God? God? You do not know who God is? Sister? Sister, we have an atheist here. Let me tell you, little boy. God is, God was, and God always will be. What? What he is? What is that? He is the Father, he is the Son, he is the Holy Ghost. He is 3 in 1. You understand? I'm 4 years of age, why wouldn't I? Greatest theological question in the world, 3 people in 1, and I'm naturally, yeah. Where is he? He is here. What? I can't see him. That doesn't mean because you can't see him that he's not here. It doesn't? He's in the cupboard. He's not in the cupboard. God doesn't go into cupboards. He's under the stairs. He's not under the stairs. He's here with us now. He's upstairs. He's downstairs. He's outside. He's inside. He's everywhere. I think he's a big one. Why can't I see him? you love him? Do you love him? I don't know. I've never seen him. God loves you. And he wants your love. But if you do not give him your love, he will cast you into everlasting flame. He will cast you into everlasting flame. Have you ever burnt yourself? Yeah, I burnt myself on the candle. What was it like? Very sad, sore. Can you imagine that pain all over your body? That's what will happen to you if you do not love God. What do you think of that? I love him. I love him. Then I asked, who was the fellow on the cross? Jesus. Who's Jesus? He's the Son of God. I've told you. Father, the Son, and Holy Ghost. He's the Son of God. He was born on Christmas Day and died on Easter. I didn't think he didn't hang around, did he? What happened to him? He died because of you. Christ died on the cross because of your sins. When was this? It was 2,000 years ago. You can't blame me. I'm only 4 for Christ's sake. I didn't do nothing. Did he have a daddy? Of course he had a daddy. I've told you he had a daddy. God was his daddy. He had a mummy. Yes, he had a mummy. Mary was his mummy. So God was married to Mary. No, God was not married to Mary. Mary was married to Joseph. Shut up. Between my parents and the church, the brains are scrambled. I learned to bless myself. First time I learned to bless myself was sadly when my uncle died. And he was being buried in a kind of remote part of the Dublin Mountains. And it was a real funereal day. The wind was whipping down, the rain. And I'm only this big, and I'm kind of wandering around between these legs and this black crowd and umbrellas and dripping rain, this bloody hole in the ground. And, oh, Christ, I didn't know what it was all about. And I'm watching the coffin being lowered into the ground, and I hear the priest say what I think. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and into the hole he goes. That's how I blessed myself for years. In the name of the Father, Son, and into the Holy Ghost. What did you say? In the name of the Father, Son, and into the Holy Ghost. He goes into the Holy Ghost. He didn't go into the hole. I was there. I saw him. He went into the hole.
What do you think of that, Jade?
Oh my gosh. Hilarious and so sad.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He was good. That guy was. He was. And a lot of those stories that he's telling is based on truth. You know, he was brought up in like the Catholic schools and stuff, and went through all that crap.
Oh yeah, I mean, teaching fear in children, I think, is in the Catholic and Christian churches are pretty common.
Yeah, but he's one of the, that guy though. He's one of the first comics, certainly in Britain and Ireland, that ever really did stuff on religion.
You're joking, are you, Jeff? Billy Connolly.
Dave Allen was around before Billy Connolly.
Yeah, I suppose so. Billy Connolly did the crucifixion. Have you heard that one? I doubt any.
Yes.
Yeah, it was on his first LP. It was on his first LP, and he had a deep Glaswegian accent. So I doubt any Americans would understand the terms and phrases he uses or the lingo. They probably need an interpreter. But here is that is absolutely hilarious. That the crucifixion.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'm going to be sort of bringing this to a close in a little bit. Cause, I just realized we're getting up near the 2 hour mark now. So, I guess I'll just go around the room if anyone's got anything to shill. Jade, I'll start with you. You want to chill? You got anything you like to chill out?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, first of all. This is fun.
No worries.
I haven't been on your channel before, so this is awesome.
Yeah.
And right now I don't have a planned time for when I'm going to put out a video, but I'm hoping to put out a video this week, still yet on my channel, Jaded Atheist. And then I also recently did an interview with the Harmonic Atheist, and he is editing that and will be putting it out soon. So once he shares that, I'll share that as well. And we kind of went more in detail with my story, and he asked questions. So that was pretty cool.
Cool. Thanks. So thanks for coming on. I know we've been in a hangout before. I think it was on one of Dave's questions.
Yep.
But yeah, so I know we've spoke before. Sam, anything you want to plug coming up?
This Wednesday, 5 Central Time, we have the next episode of Pub Religion coming out. This one we're going to be talking about latent Christianity.
Okay. That sounds like cool. That sounds like that'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was quite fun because my Christian co-host was the one who brought up the concept, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Dog, you got anything you're doing you want to plug or?
I actually have this time, Jeff.
Yay.
The Gospel According to Dog, capital G, is up and running. I've paid for a couple of licenses for the background music. I've got a guy doing the intros and that on his computer and whatnot. And hopefully, I don't know how long, maybe a couple of months, there'll be an inaugural episode of that, and then see what response it gets. Maybe do a couple of edited non-live ones, and then get everyone in the community to have a go at joining and having hopefully it'll be a laugh. Cool. Rewriting the Bible. You imagine God in a hoodie with his jeans down, showing his underpants and that, all street. So it'll just be bringing the Bible down to a level for the kids, not changing the actual context of it, but putting it in a language and maybe a bit more scientific, let's say. Should be a laugh. Who am I going to harm? I mean, the Bible's been rewritten many times. What's the point of me putting my twist on the Bible? You won't upset anyone, surely.
No one's going to be upset by this whatsoever.
No, not at all. But I'm welcome to the thumbs down as well. It's all channel activity, and I'll be welcome to the comments as well. Crack on, theist.
Yeah.
The Bible is going to be rewritten by me as a spoof, whether they like it or not.
You can't. To be honest, I don't think you could do a worse job than the original authors. So
no.
So I think you do well there, Doug. I haven't really got anything like planned on the schedule. I mean, the only thing I would plug is if anyone missed it, the stream I did earlier before this show, you with Jeff Scoop. If people haven't watched that, please go back and watch that. I really enjoyed that conversation. So, but I think with that, I'm probably going to close this thing down. Thanks to Dog, Sam, Jade coming in. Thanks to everyone who's been in the chat. I see Ox has been there, Grey Man. But it's yes, just been a little light hangout, really. So which I'll bring to an end right now. So see you guys all later. All right.
Bye.
Right.
Thanks
Bye.
everyone. Bye.